Hello. Good evening. I'm Mary Jane Mudd. I'm with the League of Women Voters, and we have the opportunity tonight to interview Tom Ramsey, candidate for Harris County Commissioner, Precinct 3 with the Republican Party. We're going to ask Tom some questions to learn about his views on issues affecting the precinct and Harris County. So, hello, Tom. Thank you for being with us.
Hello, Mary Jane. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're so happy to have you here this evening. And, I guess we'll just start with the most basic of questions. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running?
Well, we'll start with why I'm running. And as I looked at issues in Harris County, I became concerned that possibly the Commissioner's Court was not focused on the basics of safe neighborhoods, infrastructure, and a reasonable tax rate. So those three issues, and I thought, well, we really do need to focus on those issues. So I thought, with my experience, which I'll talk about more in a minute, I could really make a contribution. The other reason is I've been married for 47 years. We live in Harris County Precinct 3. Our 3 adult children live there. 5 of our grandchildren, 7 grandchildren live in Precinct 3. So this is real personal in terms of trying to be sure that the quality of life that we've enjoyed in Precinct 3, that we will continue to see that.
I saw in your biography, you've actually been in Precinct 3 for 30 years. Wow,
yes.
That is amazing. Do you want to expand at all on the 3 different things that you talked about a moment ago?
Sure.
The reasonable tax rate and the other.
I think when you look at those, and I'll talk about those in the context of my experience. For 45 years, I've served as a civil engineer throughout Texas primarily. And as a civil engineer, and frankly as an award-winning civil engineer, I've had many experiences: infrastructure, roads, streets, drainage, utilities. That really has been my focus for 47 years in dealing with those. Many of those projects were in Harris County. The first project I worked on in Harris County was the Hardy Toll Road in 1980, in the 80s. They just had broke ground on the toll road, and I was responsible for a lot of the construction phase services with the Hardy Toll Road. I also had an opportunity to work on the 99 Grand Parkway. That was in the last few years. So between that, working with municipal utility districts, working with the county, working with the city, that has been a good, I think, experience and preparation for it. But I've also had a successful business in Precinct 3. I partnered up with Wayne Klotz in 1993. We had 20 employees. We sold that in 2015. We had 150 employees. So that's really a Precinct 3 job-creating, successful story. So I want to see that, would like to see that continue, those kinds of opportunities. It was right there at Derry Ashford and I-10, so kind of in the energy corridor and in the middle of it. So the last part would be I've served as mayor of the city of Spring Valley for 8 years, and I think that's a nice proportion. Mayor for 8 years, engineer for 45. So I don't think I can be accused of being a politician, but I have had the experience of being a mayor. And in those 8 years, in 2017, I was recognized as the elected official of the year. Judge Emmett and I were both acknowledged in 2017 as that. I've also been president of the Harris County Mayor Council. And people say, what's the Harris County Mayor Council? That's really 33 cities not named Houston in Harris County, and from West U to Katy to Bel Air, there's 33 cities. And so we get they do things very well in those cities. And so that was a good experience, I think, in preparation. But specifically in Spring Valley, in the last 8 years, we've lowered the tax rate 21%. We've invested nearly $40 million in infrastructure. No one flooded in Harvey. And that is a wonderful testament to, if you focus on an issue, I think we can make a difference. And then about 8 months ago, we were recognized as the safest neighborhood in Harris County based on FBI statistics. So if you look at all the different communities and areas in Harris County, Spring Valley was the safest based on FBI statistics. I want to bring that experience. I want to bring that focus. I want to bring that energy to all of Harris County Precinct 3, and that would be what we would try to do.
Wow, it's very impressive. And you did just mention that no one flooded in Harvey, but I still want to ask, flooding is a huge concern for Houston residents. So if you're elected commissioner, is there more you would do in that capacity?
Absolutely. There is so much more. We're going to start first with a $2.5 billion bond issue that passed in 2018. There's roughly 230 plus projects associated with that. I think all but 40 have begun in terms of design, but we have to get those projects moving. So job one is, let's get those projects moving. Let's get those programs. Let's get dirt moving, channels improved. If there needs to be detention, let's do detention. So that is lined up. I had the opportunity recently to run into a senior official with the Corps of Engineers. So I asked him, I said, well, when are you going to get the 4 mitigation banks approved? And you can say, well, what does that have to do with anything? There's not a single one of the 238 projects can be done until the Corps of Engineers approves the 4 mitigation banks. Now I frequently get updates on the status of that. They're moving forward, they're processing. I'm using that as an example of, I ask really good questions. I think you can talk in the world of generic, but if we're going to get things done, we have got to get down and focused on the details. And I think the $2.5 billion projects that we, the good citizens of Harris County, voted on, they have great expectations that those be done.
Okay. And you did mention some issues earlier, but are there any others that are just so critical that you really want to focus on if you're elected as commissioner?
I think so. When I look at it's safe neighborhoods, I think everybody ought to feel safe in their own homes. I do not think it's right that no matter what neighborhood you're in, it may be an affluent neighborhood, it may be a difficult neighborhood, but I think people should feel safer in their homes. And right now, to supplement the Harris County Sheriff's Office and also to supplement areas of the city of Houston, we have what's called the Constable Program. So a neighborhood can contract with the constables and get that extra level of security and watch. And so in some cases, that is the first line of defense. If you called and had a problem in your home, likely it's going to be a constable that comes to that need.
So a neighborhood would contract with constable services?
And that's in place right
now.
But I think there's conversations, there's concerns that maybe, we might not want to do that. And I think that's a really bad idea. I think we need to enhance what we do, not only in the Sheriff's Department. I've been endorsed by Constable Ted Heap and also Constable Mark Herman. I've been also endorsed by the Harris County deputies. And here's another fact that we've got to focus on and address. If you look at the number of investigators in the city of Houston, for example, there's roughly 2 million people live in the city of Houston. And then there's roughly 2 million people that live in the unincorporated area of Harris County. Well, there are nearly 5 times the investigators in the city of Houston than there are in the Harris County Sheriff's Office. So a good question would be, why don't we hire more investigators? I think that's pretty logical. I think if we provide the resources, I think we can make a real difference in terms of making neighborhoods safer.
Wow. Okay. And I imagine everybody would feel that would be a benefit to be able to make our neighborhood safer so we're comfortable. That's so interesting, 2 million in Harris County. I didn't realize that. So one issue that's very important to Houstonians is transportation, the traffic, how long it takes us to get everywhere, books on tape, And we were even talking a little bit about that before the program began with tunnels and so forth. So what are your thoughts around transportation? Do you plan on working with Metro, TxDOT?
Well, I'm proud to say that the city of Spring Valley is one of 14 cities. Remember I said earlier there's 33 cities in Harris County, but there's only 15 of them, counting Houston, that actually contribute to regional transit like Metro. In fact, I was in a meeting this morning with Metro, and they gave an update on Metro Next and what's being planned and programmed. Well, it is important that we focus on those Metro Next projects, that we complement that with what TxDOT does. I'll give you an example. I think the bottleneck on Interstate 10 going west at Highway 6 is really something somebody ought to look at and say, can we do that any better? Is there something that could be done?
That's my life, is that bottleneck right there.
It is. and we come and we go. If you look at Harris County Precinct 3, there's 1,879 miles of road in Precinct 3. So we have the interstate, which is TxDOT, Harris County Toll Road Authority, Metro, and their hot lanes and their HOV lanes and others. We have got to get those agencies focused on the things in terms of getting the traffic moving. I think they're all well intended. I think when you look at what's happening in Uptown with the new bus rapid transit up Post Oak, and they're having to make some modifications, I think, widen the lanes, if you will, to get those bus lanes going. But we really do need I'm going to say a comprehensive look at things. Too often, way too often, we have the city of Houston well-intended trying to solve problems. We've got Harris County well-intended trying to solve problems. Can we all get in room maybe more often, and maybe we can complement each other in terms of how we deal with these issues? I think we can do better on our transportation. It's difficult. We've got a lot of people that live in Harris County, but we cannot spend less on infrastructure. We cannot spend less on roads. And right now there's a move to move money out of Precinct 3 and into the other precincts. And right now we can't afford that. We have got to keep those dollars in Precinct 3 to focus on 1,879 miles of road and other issues, including parks.
Yeah, okay. As I listen to you, I can tell that, your experience in these areas and your knowledge of the different organizations. From a philosophical standpoint, how would you collaborate with these different organizations to affect change, to move forward in certain areas? It could be around the flooding or around transportation. What is your style in that capacity?
I think engineers by training, and I know I talk too much about that probably, but engineers by training, we're solutions oriented. So we're constantly trying to find, is there a way that we can accomplish the objective, and what are our options? For example, there's several hundred MUDs in Harris County, Municipal Utility District. I think the county partnering with MUDs on transportation, on bikeways, on different park initiatives. I think those kinds of things would be valuable. You know, typically the cities, City of Houston, the City of Spring Valley, the City of Westview, the City of Bel Air, their responsibility is to get the water drainage into the bayou. So they're responsible. Then the county's responsible for the upkeep and taking care of the water once it gets there. There could be, believe me, I've been doing engineering in county for 30 plus years. There can be better collaboration between the county and the cities, not just Houston, but the other cities, in making sure that the most effective solutions are accomplished, partnering the dollars in the cities with the dollars in the counties. I think there's just so much more we can do in terms of having those conversations, create those initiatives, rather than everybody trying to, well-intended they may be, do their own thing without necessarily silos. Good word.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Gosh, well, this is so enlightening. I'm learning a lot about your areas of interest and what you would do differently. But as we start to wrap this up, I mean, why do you really feel that you would be the right candidate? There's some other competitors and in your party as well. What makes you feel that you would be the person for us to vote for?
Well, when I decided to run, I thought that and I believed that my experience as an award-winning engineer, my experience as a successful business owner, my experience as a mayor who actually has measurable improvements to the city, I thought that's a skill set that it would be a shame to waste. There's a need, and so I thought this would be something that would be worthy of my time and my energy and my focus. Needless to say, my family all lives in the area. I'm from a small town, Crockett. I had to bring that up.
Yeah.
But you grow up in a small town, and you want to make sure you do everything you can to make your community better. And I think of Precinct 3 as my community. I think of Precinct 3, there's something we can do to make it better, and that's really my intent. That's why I'm running. There's no political agenda other than trying to make Precinct 3 the best it can be.
That's terrific. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I mean, you've been great, and I hope I've asked enough.
Well,
anything else you want to touch on?
Did I tell you there's 14,888 acres of park in Precinct?
Oh my God.
14,000 acres of park, 63 parks. Do you know how many kids are out there in those parks every night doing good things in terms of sports events and everything?
That's amazing.
The significant impact of that. There's so much the county does that we have to pay attention. We can't arbitrarily start cutting here and cutting there. We've got to stay focused on those kinds of things. We have 16 buses that take seniors on trips. You know why that's important? Because that gives them a reason to get up and get out of bed, to comb their hair and go do something. And those kinds of things are so very important that we've got to keep those priorities, make sure we get the big stuff, take care of the infrastructure and the safe neighborhoods and the reasonable tax rate. Be sure that's all done. But let's not forget those folks that are depending on us not to forget them.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. Well, I would like to thank all of you for being with us this evening, and certainly want to thank Tom for being with us this evening. This was very important, and I learned a lot from you. And want you to know that not long from now, this program will be up on our YouTube channel. It's also been on our Facebook page for the League of Women Voters. You can also go, this is very important, early voting starts next week on February 18th, and you can go to our website, League of Women Voters, lwvhouston.org, and you can download our voters guide. Those voters guides are also being mailed to people's homes if they're members, and you can get information on all of the candidates who will be running. And of course, March 3rd is the day of the primaries, and we hope that everybody will be out to vote. Want to make sure I covered everything I wanted to cover. Next Wednesday, February 19th at 6:30, we'll have Republican candidates for Harris County Sheriff, County Attorney, and Tax Assessor Collector. At 8 p.m. next week, the Democratic candidates for the same. So thank you again for joining us, and please be sure to follow up, watch this on Facebook, watch us on YouTube, and we do appreciate the time you took with us, Tom.
Thank you very much.